Hey everybody, my name is Wrendi McDavid and I teach 75 awesome 6th through 8th grade students at Fallsburg Elementary in Lawrence County, Kentucky. The name of my project is Way to Go H20. Studies have shown that even slight dehydration can lead to fatigue in adolescent children. And as a classroom teacher, I've noticed that my preteen and teenage students are often tired. Fatigue can slow down their cognitive function, making learning a daunting task while they are even slightly dehydrated. So my research question was, will a student that is properly hydrated perform better on school-related tasks? And to study this question, I suggested to install a water fountain that includes a bottle refilling station in the middle school hallway, and then to create a water challenge for students to increase their daily water consumption. So this is a picture here of the water fountain that I ordered through the grant. It's really neat. It's touchless. So when a student goes in and puts a bottle underneath or right there beside of the sensor, it automatically fills. The water is cooled, it is filtered, and it also keeps track of how many plastic bottles of water that we've saved, I guess is the best way to say it, up at the top to kind of keep track of that. Something that I really didn't consider at all whenever I started doing this whole research over water was that sometimes you have bottled water that is coming from a tap somewhere else, and maybe it's been put through a special process, and that information is on the label of the water bottle. But what I didn't think about was most bottled water does not have fluoride added. And fluoride is added to tap water in most of the United States to help prevent cavities. If you drink mostly bottled water, you may not be getting enough fluoride. I've really never considered that part of it. So, in our area, our children have quite a few dental needs, and sometimes that need is not met appropriately. We do have a lot of good programs that come into the school to ensure that kids do have access to dental care, but those meetings once a year sometimes just aren't enough. So I think it's important that students use bottled water or use water that's coming from a tap so that they are receiving the proper amount of fluoride that they need for their teeth. So for a pre-assessment, to get a baseline of cognitive performance, I administered a pre-assessment that had random problem-solving questions that were based on real-world math situations. And if you look at this table of my results, most of the students failed. They scored below a 50%. I also administered some self-reflection questions for the students to kind of gauge where they were before we started increasing our water intake. So I asked them first what concerns that they had about the water that they drink from school. A lot of students said it tasted bad, it's not cold enough, or the water fountain is dirty. Those were our top 3 things. I had a few students say that other students might make fun of them for drinking out of the water. 20 of them said that they didn't have a container to put water into, and then 20 students also said that they never have time to go to the water fountain. Our water fountain in our school is kind of off by itself. It's not in a high travel area for our middle school students. So if they are going in between classes, they have to purposefully go down a different hallway in order to get to our water fountain. I asked those students if they felt sleepy throughout the day. Most of the 26% of them said that they felt sleepy every single day, and then 22 of my students said it was just during school days. So we do see that fatigue there. Another thing about middle school students is that you'll have some students that are not very tall, and then I have some that just tower over me. And 40, which comes out to 51% of my students, said that they had a hard time bending down to reach the water fountains at the school. And then I had the students assess their skin. Is your skin oily? Is it dry? Is it both? Are you getting zits regularly? Have you never had a zit before? And in, the teenage years is when you really see the skin starting to act up. And as you can see from the graph that I have here, most of my students had some sort of issue with their skin prior to us beginning the water challenge. the biggest game changer that I saw in this whole entire thing was when our health department found out about what we were doing. And so our health department ordered these water bottles that you see here. They ordered enough for every student in our entire school. And I just thought that was the greatest thing. That was very, very kind of them on their part. The students loved these. You know, they are not some big fancy elaborate water bottle. They're plastic, and you know, it just says Fallsburg Dragons on it, but they loved it. And I really saw their participation skyrocket once these were delivered and distributed to the students. I wrote their names on them. I gave them out to the students. I also had a pile of extras because some of the students just could not keep up with them going back and forth between home and school. But every child ended up with a bottle. And I just thought that was great. And I really appreciate the health department for stepping up and making this happen. But the moment I saw the biggest change throughout this whole entire process was when they had access to that one water bottle. So my post-assessment results, we had the same problem-solving test, and I saw an increase of students that were able to pass that, as you can see here. Still have quite a few that are below 50%, but I do like that we've seen gains. We've seen gains in the other places as well, so I thought that was good. I asked the students again about their improvements in skin since drinking more water. 31% of them said that it was no longer as oily, 55% said that it was no longer as dry, and 48% of my students said that they had fewer breakouts, which is great. If there's something that you know about middle school, it's that, you know, kids can be kind of cruel during that time, and they like to point out things that are wrong. And it is not good for your self-esteem whenever you have when you have blemishes or you don't feel good about yourself. And so I loved seeing that our kids saw these improvement to their skin. You know, this I thought would do wonders for their self-esteem. And I really liked those results. I could concentrate better when I was drinking more water. 14% of my kids said that they saw that better concentration every single day. 69% of my students said that they saw it on most days, and then 17% said that their concentration had stayed the same. So I thoroughly enjoyed this part, that I thought that, you know, they thought that they can perform better and soak in what we're trying to teach them better when they're properly hydrated. I'm drinking more water at home than before the challenge. 28% said they're drinking more water every single day, and 48% said that it's happening on some days. I still have a little pocket of kids that haven't changed their drinking habits, and that will happen, of course, with anything that you do. But I really was happy with the numbers that I see with students mindfully increasing the amount of water that they're taking in. I compiled some of the comments from the students that I have after our water challenge. This lady said, I didn't have time, or I didn't have to be thirsty during class anymore. And a lot of times that's something that we don't really think about with our students. I feel better when I drink more water. Before this started, I didn't drink water at school. This challenge made me healthier, and I drank more water during the day. I love that. I felt more active and concentrated more. I felt very refreshed whenever I actually drank water instead of having nothing but milk every day at school. I could definitely tell that I was able to focus better. One student said, I lost 10 pounds during this challenge. That's awesome. I wish that would have happened to me. And the water challenge made me drink less soda than I did before. And the last one, I love this one. It gave me a goal for each day and gave me something to improve on that wasn't academic. You know, when students are in our school building, we're constantly pushing them and saying, you have to do better here. You have to be a better reader. You have to be better at math. And sometimes if a student isn't really as successful as we want them to be, or as successful as they think that they can be, it's really disheartening. And so with the water challenge, I feel like they have more control over how their results will be from that, or how much that they actually could drink in a day, because that was a goal that they could meet and attain every single day. I loved that answer. And that's great. It's something besides academics that I can achieve. And then the last one here, it says, meeting my goal made me feel accomplished. And great for their self-esteem, great for their self-worth. With my teacher reflection, some things that I have to say about this is that enforcing strict rules about drinks in the classroom, we noticed that a lot of students were bringing in, Pepsis and Coke and of course Mountain Dew. And then we even have some kids that every day they were bringing in an energy drink of some sort. And that is so unhealthy for our kids. So we really cracked down on the drinks that students could have in class. We have so much technology in our rooms, our middle school is basically 1-to-1. So we want to cut back on any kind of beverage that wasn't water. And even then with water, you want to make sure that it's in a container that you can close. That way, if something were to drop and, spill, it wouldn't ruin the technology that you have. So when we really crack down on what students could have, your kids that were used to bringing in their pops or bringing in their energy drinks, they needed something to drink. They needed something to do. So having those water bottles really helped in that sense. Waiting for the newness to wear off of those water bottles, that it took a little bit of time. The first day the kids got their water bottles and they were so excited. And it was not 30 minutes into it, I had one kid go and fill theirs up. And of course they squirted somebody in the hallway with it. And so we took their water bottle. They couldn't have it back for a few days. And we wanted to show the students right off the bat that you have to be responsible enough to be able to have your water bottle every day in all of your classes. And we didn't have any issues after that. But once that newness of the bottle started to wear off, there was no issue whatsoever. Like the students knew to drink it and then close the cap that was on it. That way it was safe to the electronics that were in the room. As a teacher, I had to realize that I needed to be more open to breaks. So since this was my grand idea, I told the kids, okay, we'll use the beginning of my class period to go refill water bottles. And it really wasn't an issue at all. Like, it may have taken 5 minutes. But during that 5 minutes, kids got all their stuff out, they got their laptops out, they were ready to start the day. And then the ones that needed to would go and refill their water bottles. So my flexibility there helped keep me sane, but we got in a good groove with it. And they knew when they can go, and it really didn't interrupt a whole lot of our class time. But with this too, with the increase of water, we're also going to see an increase of the need to go to the restroom. And I saw that, and it really wasn't any kind of issue whatsoever. I didn't have any behavior issues going to the restroom. I just needed to be more open-minded and say, okay, I have more kids that are going to need to go now because they've increased their water consumption. So that was different, but that was okay. We made it through that. But what's most important too is getting the other teachers on board. The kids going to the other teachers with their water bottles. The other teachers at first may not have been as excited about this as what I was. And so when I told everybody what was going on and I really got them on board, they didn't care that the students constantly had a water bottle with them. And I think that now that we see the benefits from this, that it definitely is not going to be any sort of issue in the future either. Like, we're all on board. We want our kids to stay hydrated. We want them to do the best that they can in class. We want them to make these goals and to reach them and feel good about themselves in that way. Next year, I want to keep this water challenge going. I think it's great. I'm going to try to work with our health department again to see if I can get more bottles for incoming students. And for those that might have lost theirs between one school year to the next. But I really think that I want to get the teachers on board with this as well, as far as us increasing our water consumption as well. I think that we'll all see a benefit from that. All right, and that was my presentation about Way to Go H2O. If you have any questions about anything, want to talk to me about it, or you just want to come and check out my Twitter, you can find me there at Wrendi Lee, and my school email address is listed here at the bottom. Thank you guys so much for watching.